Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the invitation to make a small presentation about Port of Oostende. I first need to be introduced what is capacity field, so then I can answer the question, what we speak about. Nevertheless, I would like to give a small presentation about, we have been hearing a lot about Rotterdam, Zeebrugge, Antwerp, North Sea ports, the Dutch port of the Netherlands. So, but I understand that there is not too much praise for smaller and medium-sized ports. So I have the honor to to present the Port of Oostende, which is an SME port in European context. And we cannot be suspected from gigantism like other ports. Core question before you go into the port activities is the first question you ask, is there an added value given by ports, by the Port Authority? We all know that we are facing, especially SME ports all over Europe, we are facing a lot of pressure, especially from the real estate and other, let's say, specialists in city development. And I'm also looking to my colleagues from the inland ports, so how to survive and how to make sure that they have a place in the 1,250 small SME ports which are forgotten in the European context. So for the Port of Oostende, for those who are not familiar, I just want to give a little bit an explanation what we are doing, because I mean, most remember the beach, and for the rest, nothing too much more. So we were a traditional RoRo port and a cruise port, very small cruises, this is very clear. But from the RoRo point of view, we are not a traditional RoRo anymore. We are focusing on using RoRo activities in the field of the offshore, where we work together with Siemens Gamesa and other ports like Esbjerg, Cuxhaven and Hull in setting up specialized RoRo operations for wind turbines, nacelles and different pieces. Is this funny? Yes, this is funny because the traditional RoRo is only working with limited capacity. These kind of berths have a capacity of 650 tons, so it means that you can work with very heavy loads. RoRo, we had funny stories with the English government where we find out that we were working with a pizza delivery system, and I thought Pizza Hut, I thought this is the RoRo company which is coming to Oostende. Unfortunately, Seaborn was a kind of a joke which was set up within the framework of the the UK government. Nothing has cleared out, but it has taken us a lot of energy and a lot of attention. We have been ready to prepare for a new sailing RoRo activity. Nevertheless, up to today, we're still waiting what is the outcome of the election of the 12th of December. So we are looking forward what the next delivery will be in the soap of Brexit. Cruises and RoRo, that's quite traditional. The last 10 years, we have been mostly focusing on issues like offshore renewable energy, whereby we have been recycling, regenerating an old terminal which was used for RoRo into an offshore terminal, which is now called the RoRo terminal, which is property of the Port of Oostende, whereby we have been set up two different systems. Let's say the front side is dedicated to anything which is building an installation of wind parks at sea, which means that the heavy loads are installed there. And the backside is definitely dedicated to the maintenance, which is the most profitable part of the business, as we are not looking to volume, contrary to the major ports, but we are looking to added value. What does it mean? Does it bring something, this offshore energy, or just a lot of blah blah? Like previous speaker has said, you have a lot of people who are making a lot of noise and then it's just for show and nothing else. Is it something real or not? Up to today, we can say that, like it looks like, we're going to have 400 windmills in sea from next year on, at the end of next year. Next year, we're building the last 100 windmills at sea with Siemens. Today, we have about 300 something windmills, and this gives an added value of employment of 600 people. So the parameter accounting one windmill maintenance for two full-time equivalents is quite valid at the Port of Oostende. So as I said, our role as Port Authority is definitely to support the developments of the port infrastructure in order to make sure that all parties can work and can give added value services for the maintenance and the management of the offshore wind parks. We are building now a new part of the port. And very important element, which is quite often forgotten in the chain of the offshore renewable, is the training. Therefore, we work together with NUTEC. It's now all ex-Falk services, Falk safety services. They have an imminent role in the port of Oostende in order to give all the people who have to work at sea decent training and to give them the chance to make all the certificates. Out and inner port, there we go back to the traditional funny stories. We have, as you can see, we worked still with the traditional Baltic timber, which is coming in very often. Project cargo is still coming in. Very important for us, if we have to look to volumes and kilos and tons and whatever, then it's sand and granulates. Sea mining is an issue, is a very important issue for the Port of Oostende. We also know with the Marine Spatial Plan and with future assessments by VLIS and other knowledge institutions that this is an ending story. So there we also have to look very clearly for the future and also to see how we can find other solutions, especially for the construction sector, what kind of role we can play in that field. So this is a challenge, I would say, in the midterm that we have to take up. Then we go back to the inner port. As you can see, the port of Oostende is one long tongue, is the tongue of the Rolling Stones, going from the seaside up to the down to the port of the bridge of Plassendale. So alongside the canal from Brugge to Ghent, we are on both sides of the canal. We are developing port activities. This is an older picture because in the meantime we have been developing, especially the inner port, in focus of circular economy. This is what I will do is kind of give a kind of an overview of different companies which are active there. This is IM Recycling. It's a Canadian-Belgian joint venture focusing on recuperation of non-ferro materials which go directly to ArcelorMittal. So they have found out a kind of technology which makes the recuperation quite pure. So this gives them a very added value to work directly with the bigger industry. The chemical site, the old Union Chimique Belge site, is taken over by Proviron, where also different activities are taking place, like the production of algae, microalgae, in order to make biofuel and other things, also for the pharma industry. So step by step, this site is also in reconsideration and recuperation and recycling, and like how you call this. An important player in Oostende, but of course not compared to other ports, is the Topmix, and specializing in recuperation of building materials, concrete and asphalt. So they have an expensive production site within the port of Oostende, investing in new technologies. Then we have the Biostoom Centrale, the Central for Biosteam, which is now working on production of energy and electricity, but they also take a lot of waste, and they have a lot of output they would like to put into connection with other companies within the port area. So they have offered different processes and products which can be recuperated. Another company is Biopower, using animal fat, also for the production, in the first place for the production of energy. Also there, we are looking now together with the guys how we can recuperate and we can use other byproducts from their production of energy in a more, let's say, efficient, cost-efficient way. Renacci is a newcomer on the port in Oostende. Renacci is doing, it will be opened, I think, March next year, March 2020, focusing on different recuperation of different materials with a strong focus on plastics, whereby that also different output materials will be made, mostly looking at granulates, carbonized pellets, and also ethanol, with a clear link to renewable combustion for different activities. This gives you a little overview of a few companies. There are more companies active in the inner port, and this is an expansive, I can say we will make sure that we will have the inner port completely filled with this kind of companies. next to that, we try also, as we are an SME port, we cannot count on huge support from inland or whatever, so we have to be smart and we have to cooperate with other SME ports within the North Sea region, mostly, and the Baltic region otherwise. One example is dual ports. Dual ports is a small ports project within the North Sea arrangements. Core topic is low carbon port management. Here you can see we work with a lot of Danish ports which have similar size, similar activities and similar profiles like we have in the port of Oostende. We also work together with Nieder-Saxon ports, except for Wilhelmshaven. These ports are also within the same range. So together we try to set up different pilot projects, and one of the pilot projects that we are working on is Docklands, which is industrial co-siting. Space is an issue. It's another source or resource for port development, logistics, and other activity, which is becoming limited. So therefore, especially in the port of Oostende, we have to be very careful with the use of space. So therefore, industrial co-siting is set up. This has been an initiative taken up by the Flemish government. I think not by the Flemish government. It has been taken up by a private company, whereby the University of Ghent and other partners have stepped in order to give them a bridge to the Flemish government, whereby risk assessment and joint use of facilities is set up. There's a project busy in the North Sea ports Belgian side, and there is the Port of Oostende. They're working as well with this kind of concept. So we hope that next year also there we will see the first results of this concept in Oostende. I know that in Ghent, well, I am not allowed to say Ghent anymore, the Dutch port of North Sea ports, they are quite far with the developments and the negotiations. So I think this gives a chance also for integrating different services, both on logistics, security, safety, CVSO regulations, environmental regulations, to combine them in one package of management tools which are at the service of companies. So that's, I think, is getting closer to what you are thinking about, efficiency and surface field. Voilà. That's it. Questions? This is very short. Any questions are welcome. Thank you.